Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, and I'm your host, John June, and of course, that time of year, got my guy, Greg Penniman. Greg, what is good, bro?
What is going on? We are here. We're back. Did the quarterbacks of the day. Now we heard the running backs. A little more fluctuation in this position. I'm a little more interested in the RBs and in the skill positions. They don't get paid as much, so I gotta appreciate them a little more.
Yeah, definitely got to appreciate them. And then there's also, this is like we said yesterday, or it feels like yesterday, but for the quarterback breakdowns, there was a lot of agreement, not just amongst ourselves, but across the fantasy industry as a whole. So the running backs is where you'll start to see some differing of opinions, and I think some rankings might surprise people. So, with that being said, the agenda for today very similar to what it was for the quarterback breakdown. Discuss our top 3 running backs. We reveal our top 12s. We'll go through our sleepers, our bust, our breakouts, and our my guys. And then if time permits, we'll play some ADP games. So let's just jump into the running back breakdown. We don't have any news to cover today. The recap in the top 12 from last year in fantasy points per game. That's the metric we'll go with. Christian McCaffrey was the number 1 player. Alvin Kamara was number 2. Dalvin Cook 3. Derrick Henry 4. Aaron Jones 5. James Robinson, David Montgomery, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, and Myles Gaskin.
The gas man.
The gas man. Greg, which of these guys have in your opinion, the largest or the biggest chance of falling out of this top 12?
Unfortunately, it hurts me. This is one of our guys coming in early last year. I'm gonna have to go with James Robinson this year. Just not because of him. It's just that man Travis Etienne is gonna be a problem. Like you're already hearing rumbles about him in camp. You already he's a college type player with a college style coach. He's gonna have him not be just a running back. He's gonna be everywhere on the field, getting targets, getting rushing carries as well. So it's going to be a huge impact to James Robinson. They're both going to just eat each other up, like each other's stats up, eat each other's caps up. So James Robinson definitely getting that 25 to 20 to 25 carries a game. That's not happening again. So yeah, ETN is going to eat that up.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. James Robinson's easy.
Yeah.
David Montgomery is another guy I see, just not because of him, just because of some of these other guys that might take some leaps this year.
Especially if they're healthy.
Myles Gaskin's probably another guy that fits in that category. But let's jump into it, man. Starting with the running back position, starting with the RB1, Greg, I'm going to kick it to you. I don't think there's any surprise here. This should be kind of like the quarterback position. So why don't you lay this up real quick?
Yeah, man, this is Christian McCaffrey. This is CMC number 1. It doesn't matter how many games he played. In those couple games he played, he was still getting over 20 to 25 touches a game. This man's a dual threat receiver and running back. He's better than your favorite receiver, and he's just gonna keep doing what he has to do on the field. There's no competition, as there shouldn't be for this man. So the percentage of carries are gonna be there for him. The percentage of receptions are gonna be there for him. I got him pretty much blowing the field away as the one after my next person in projection. So yeah, Christian McCaffrey's that guy. They're gonna have to run the offense through him, continue to run the offense through him. It starts with him.
No, absolutely. I mean, despite missing 13 games last year with injuries, I mean, he was everything you would want in the number 1 overall pick when he did play. Averaged 29 PPR points per game, which again would have made him the number 1 player, the number 1 running back in fantasy. Was on a 16-game pace of over 416 opportunities. There were some questions about whether Joe Brady, Matt Rule, and this new offense or this new coaching staff would really lean on McCaffrey. I don't think we saw that. He was projected for almost 2,000 yards from scrimmage and 32 total touchdowns on that 16-game pace. So no reason to not project this guy to be the number one guy again. Injuries aren't a concern for me, and neither is the workload. So, not much to see here for me, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. They did get Chuba Hubbard, but that's more. He'll be a productive backup, probably the best backup they've had, but he's not going to impact what Christian McCaffrey does. Yeah, he's still got him getting 65% of those rush attempts, which is a high rate.
Yeah, no, definitely. McCaffrey will be the workhorse there. Let's move on to the RB2, man, and I'm going with Dalvin Cook, man. He was the man in 2020. I had actually had a last second tilt, and we'll get to that one in a little bit. But he was the man in 2020. Was a really good season for the running back out of Minnesota. 312 rush attempts, 1,557 rushing yards, 16 rushing touchdowns. Those are all career highs. Also added 54 targets for 44 catches, 361 yards, and one other receiving touchdown. Like I said, I was close to having this guy as my RB3, but I had to change of heart here. He's my RB2. He was first in the league in touches per game, 20 over 25 touches a game. Second in rushing yards, uh, second in rushing yards per game as well. He was a workhorse and has the pass catching upside that we look for in PPR leagues. So Dalvin Cook has to be my number 2 running back.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. Dalvin Cook is just, first of all, again, have to shout out my dynasty team, my running back on the Bronx Elite. So just my heart is with also Dalvin Cook, and the numbers prove it as well. He's just so explosive in what he does. Yep, talk about the touches per game. He led that last year. I think he could also do that this year again. And the game script for Minnesota and what they're going to do, their style, they might even try to run it more and lean on him more. We talked about in the quarterback episode how they don't want to try to be in those high scoring games, have to come back, and so they want to be in positive game script, and that's running the ball in the second half, closing with Dalvin Cook.
No, absolutely, man. And so, Greg, I'm gonna kick it to you here for your running back 3, man. What do you got?
Running back three, it was tight between Kamara and Derrick Henry, but I'm gonna go with my man Derrick Henry, King Henry. I think that edge was the workout video, so to give my man Derrick Henry, he's gonna be working. Even with the addition of Julio Jones and maybe the transition maybe to a more passing game, but they're gonna still feed and carry on Derrick Henry. I see, yup, 20 to 20 to 25 carries a game, and he's a workhorse. He's gonna get close to 5 yards a carry, and he's gonna be getting in the red zone, getting those touchdowns. That's where his money is made because he's not big in the receptions game. He'll do some little work, but his money's in that red zone where he's getting multiple touchdowns. Led the league in rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I mean, had 2,000 yards last year. Derrick Henry was an absolute man, and I think with the addition of Julio Jones, that efficiency we should see go up, right? I mean, he's got that yards per carry should I mean, it's already high. It should maintain a high number over 5 yards per carry. Derrick Henry is, I mean, he's an absolute beast. When I started out the projection process, he was actually my number 2 guy. I had to scale back a little bit, get a little bit more conservative in that, because he does not have the pass catching upside like you talked about,
Right.
and then to expect him to rush for 2,000 yards again in a 17 game season. I mean, it's definitely possible, but the touches they're counting up. But not to say anything about Derrick Henry. Still think he's going to be great this year. My RB3 is all right, man. Saquon Barkley, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Look, look,
Wow.
look. It's crazy. I know
I'm
he.
ready
I
for
know
this
he's.
one.
I know he's coming off the torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus, which he did in week 2 of the 2020 season. And for that season, I projected that we would see a career year from Saquon Barkley. And you know what? I'm not holding out hope from last year. I'm not holding it against him either. But you obviously have to prognosticate around the injury. But if you see the videos that he's put out, like you talked about, workout videos, my man's been working. You see him cutting. You see him running. I look at him and maybe he doesn't have right now in July, August, he doesn't have the conditioning to carry that workload. But you see him obviously. I don't think the knee's really that much of a concern right now. And the Giants aren't talking about his availability in week one, but really think about it. Do you think a Bill Belichick disciple would give his players the okay to talk about their week one availability in July or August? Like, that's not going to happen. And so, he's going off the board as the RB5 according to 444's multi-site ADP. And I know, again, the injury is a concern, but there are injury analysts, people in the community that I trust. Dr. Edwin Poras, also my guy Marcel Bordeaux, who's on here for the Raiders. They believe that he'll be good to go this season. I'm a bit of a risk taker, Greg. You know that. But like Bruce Arians would say, no risk it, no biscuit. And I'm shooting for the upside right here with Saquon Barkley. And I want the biscuit, man.
I feel you. I feel you on what he can do in the games he's going to play. I'm just, concerned about the touches number that he's going to get, and just in general, are the Giants going to lean on him to give him those number of carries? First of all, is he going to be there week one? He's already come out and said, he's doesn't want to be too rushed. They want to make sure he's 130% for week one. I personally don't think he's going to be there to play week one. So like for him to get top 3 to get all those points, he has to be there probably all 17. If we're talking total points. So it's just a matter of availability as far as starting off the gate. If he's going to be there at week one, I could see him coming back more week 3, week 2, and then as they're also when he's in the game, are they going to make sure they try to prevent re-injury as far as like giving him the bulk of the carries and the touches.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, I mean, those are all good points. I think the other thing to note, though, too, is as Saquon Barkley gets more comfortable, right, then we get Saquon Barkley.
Right.
And and we know what that can be. There's 20, 30-point upside in PPR leagues there. And I think that even though they did add Kenny Golladay, I still think Saquon Barkley is probably the second leading target getter on this team. So, again, I'm a risk taker. You're more risk averse than me. So, you know what? We have our first disagreement here, but not by much, Greg. Why don't you give the people your top 12, man? Round it out for them.
So for my top 12, I have my man Christian McCaffrey as 1, Dalvin Cook 2, Derrick Henry 3, Alvin Kamara 4, Austin Eckler 5, Ezekiel Elliott 6, Aaron Jones 7, JT Jonathan Taylor 8, Nick Chubb 9, DeAndre Swift at 10, Saquon Barkley at 11, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 12.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I like it. It's a little bit different than mine, but I definitely like it, man. Uh, 1, I got McCaffrey. 2, Dalvin Cook. 3, Saquon Barkley. 4, Zeke Elliott. 5, Derrick Henry. 6, Alvin Kamara. 7, Aaron Jones. 8, Austin Eckler. 9, Nick Chubb. 10, Jonathan Taylor. 11, DeAndre Swift, and 12, Najee Harris.
Word. I think the only one that we didn't have in our top 12 was I have Clyde in mind. Do you have Clyde in yours?
I no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't have Clyde in mind,
Word.
but
That was
he's
it. Yeah.
close. I think
He's
I
an
got
honorable
him.
mention, I'm sure. He's like
Yeah,
13,
yeah,
14.
no, for sure. He's
Yeah.
I think I've got him at like 13 or 14. But
Yeah.
he's right there. All
Yeah,
right,
man.
man. Let's jump into this. Let's jump into this running back this breakdown, man. I guess I'll start with the bust, man. And like we say, we don't want to give this one out, but we're going on a player here who might disappoint at their ADP for one reason or another. And with that being said, my running back bust for 2021 is Raheem Mostert. Going off the
That's a great
board.
one. It's a great one. That's a really good one.
Appreciate you, bro. Going
Yeah.
off the board is the RB28, finished as the RB27 in PPR points per game last season, only playing in 8 games, missing some time with injuries. I have him down as my bust for a few reasons. He's 29, does have a little less tread on your tire than the average 29-year-old. Only has 318 career touches, but he's been banged up at times. And the 49ers spent a third-round pick on rookie running back Trey Sermon, who's expected to have some sort of role here in the Niners backfield. And then there's also the possibility of what could also happen to these Niners running backs if and when rookie quarterback Trey Lance takes over, because he will gobble up some of these rushing touchdowns. And so with all these variables at play, I just think the deck is stacked against Mostert.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. As a bust, I probably looking at him or my bust candidate, which would have been James Robinson. And because of where he's going, because of the people behind him, which is Travis Etienne, who I think will end up over him when the season's over. So it's more like a ADP game at that point. Who you're going to draft, and I'm taking Travis Etienne over James Robinson for that, and if I'm making that decision.
Yeah, I was looking at their ADPs today. It's quite interesting. I mean, James Robinson, I think the RB 25 is somewhere in that range, and
Yep.
Travis Etienne is the
Yep.
RB 34. And I totally agree with you. I have ETN not over James Robinson in my projections and my rankings, and so I would prefer to have the Travis Etienne at that price. But Craig, why don't you give the people your running back sleeper, man?
Ooh, all right. So people gonna be sleeping on, but I'm gonna go with my man deep in real, not deep real in the bag, but Javonte Williams, a very popular sleeper among the fantasy community. But as far as me as well, Denver draft pick. So it's more about the fact that he's highly rated coming out of North Carolina with his breakout year, and I think he can just be better than Melvin Gordon, honestly, when it comes down to it throughout the year. Maybe not to start, he won't get the bulk of the carries, but as we transition, those rookies get momentum throughout the end of the year, kind of Antonio Gibson type rumblings and stuff like that. I think Javonte Williams can make his name for himself and get a lot of carries. For the position he's going at a RB 29, top 30 running back, which is pretty solid, but I think he can finish top 25. I think he will finish top 25 this year.
No, that's definitely a good one, and it's definitely interesting because you talk about Javonte Williams. I'm actually going to go with his college teammate. Michael Carter is my guy here. He was one of my favorite running backs in the 2020 class. This dude, his movement skills, his agility, they reminded me so much of Alvin Kamara. And I'm just saying stylistically, I'm not saying that this guy will be Alvin Kamara and he has that talent. I'm just saying from a style perspective, how he moves on a football
Mm-hmm.
field, how he
Mm-hmm.
operates in space, how he can catch the football. That's who he reminds me of. He actually, you talked about Javonte Williams, but he led the University of North Carolina, Michael Carter did, in scrimmage yards each of the last 2 years. He fits this wide zone Shanahan run scheme perfectly. The Jets have an improved offensive line as well, adding rookie Elijah Vera Tucker at left guard next to ascending left tackle Mekhi Becton. They also added Morgan Moses on the right side to upgrade that side of the offensive line. I think we see an improved Jets offense as a whole, and Carter, who can make an impact as not just a runner but a receiver, will be a factor in this Jets offense.
Yeah, I like that. The two North Carolina boys. I'm a Duke guy, so this really hurts me that both of these guys are being named as our sleepers because North Carolina just it rubs me the wrong way sometimes. But yeah, I think both of these guys, Javonte and Melvin Gordon, yeah, Javonte will come through and get some momentum down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the ADPs on both of them right now. Like you said, according to 4for4.com's multi-site ADP, it's just they take some ADPs, they aggregate them, so you get an average. Javonte Williams is the RB 25,
Okay.
going off is this pick 608 in 12-team leagues. Michael Carter is the RB 31, going off as the eighth round. In the fourth pick in the eighth round of 12-team leagues. So just let people know where these guys are going. And I'm going to go to the running back or to my breakout here for the running back position. And the trend for me 3 years in a row, it seems, is to go with these rookie running backs, and I just can't help myself. It's the easiest thing to do, I feel like, and so I'm going at it again. Najee Harris. I've been pretty adamant since Najee Harris was made the 24th pick in the NFL draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers that he would be an RB 1 or approaching that territory, and I've only risen on Najee Harris since that time. He enters a situation in Pittsburgh where the run game was lacking last year, and he gets an opportunity to be the guy. And if you know anything about Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you'll know that he prefers a bell cow. When discussing his rookie running back on July 30th, Tomlin said, quote, you would like a known feature guy. I think everybody is of that mentality, but it's going to be something that's taken by someone. Oh, wait, that quote's actually from 2013 when he was talking about Le'Veon Bell, but it's applicable still because I think that Le'Veon Bell and Najee Harris are so similar as running backs to me in terms of their body types, They're both tall, slender, but powerful backs that are smooth in the pass game as well as in the run game. But they can be utilized as receivers. And Le'Veon Bell saw 289 touches as a rookie in 13 games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, averaged almost 17 PPR points per game, and was a top 8 running back in points per game. And I think if Najee can get the 22.2 touches a game that Bell was getting, an RB1 season is a lock for him as a rookie.
Yeah, definitely. Najee Harris is a great one. I mean, for the fact that last year you had my man Big Ben with all these knee pads and everything like that, throwing over 40 times a game. Like that's ridiculous. You need to shift that over to the Pittsburgh series identity, get those carries and get those receptions to Najee Harris. I think, we'll kind of see his reception game come out and shock a little people a little bit that he's good in that game in that area. So I think that's a definitely a really good breakout. And it's easy for a rookie, to choose a rookie running back for breakout because like just sets up the definition. Like a person that you don't know about that's going to break out. Like rookies are going to, that's the one. Like so. Hey man, it might have to just be called rookie breakouts. Like
We just have two separate ones.
Yeah. But I'm gonna go with Travis Etienne. I've been talking about him throughout the whole podcast. This episode, yes, Travis Etienne. That's my breakout. Just as far as I'm just really in love with the player that he is, not the running back. I think he's definitely a player, and he's gonna be all over the field, catching passes, doing jet sweeps, getting carries in general. With Urban Meyer, I think I believe in the system and that what they're gonna do, and the opportunity is there for him to get these carries. James Robinson is a great guy, but he doesn't have that clout that with the new quarterback, new coach, and everything. It's easy to shift over that role to Travis Etienne.
Bro, I agree, man. I mean, Travis Etienne was one of my favorite players in college football for the last like 3 years. The dude is just dynamic, and when you look at him in this Urban Meyer right offense, he's just like Percy Harvin. Just screams.
Yeah, just screams Percy Harvin. Yeah,
Percy
for sure.
Harvin, Curtis Samuel.
Yep.
Those kind of guys that can make impacts in both the running and receiving game. And I totally agree with you. He's not. I mean, Travis Etienne is going to be a stud. I mean, two breakout running backs. I think we did this last year too, Greg. Two rookies as our breakouts.
Yeah.
We're doing it again. It's like a layup, man. All right, let's go to the my guys, man. And Greg, you're gonna kick this one off. Who's your my guy for the 2021 NFL season?
So my guy this year for the 2021 NFL season, I was gonna go with the gas man, but I'm gonna shift it to my man Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's gonna be my guy for this year. Just off the fact that Kansas City. I'm a closet Kansas City Chiefs fan first of all, and then just Clyde, man. I think he's gonna step up and show. People were really high on him last year. It wasn't his fault. I think it was more like the offense and the style, and that could play a little bit into this year, but. I think he's going to continue to get these carries. Like it reminds me of that Bills game when he got that 20, 25 carries and he just dominated. I think you'll see more games of that. He got very efficient in his runs last year, and I think they'll use him more in the rushing game, and of course continue to get him work and improvement in the passing game. Rookie running backs and running backs usually, if their pass catchers steadily increase throughout their years from their second year to third year in targets and receptions, so that's going to improve.
No, definitely. I'm totally with you on this. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at my rankings, and I'm like, I should move Clyde up. Like, I should have him. I've got him at 15 right now, behind Chris Carson and Joe Mixon, and like, I should totally take Clyde above both Chris Carson and Joe Mixon, right after Najee Harris, though, because I'm just that much a believer in Najee Harris.
Yeah, as you should.
But I totally agree, man. Clyde is a guy that I think, as soon as the season ended, I said Clyde is going to be a guy that people are going to sleep on going into this year because there has such a bad taste in their mouth. And like you said, he had the Bills game. He completely went off, had 25 touches, whatever, or, even I think it was even more touches than that. But then they make the acquisition of Le'Veon Bell, which kind of like torpedoed his season because he was a workhorse at that time.
He was.
Prior to Le'Veon Bell acquisition, Le'Veon Bell comes here. It's just like four straight games of like single-digit carries, and then they start giving him double digits again, and then he gets hurt against New Orleans, And so people are just going to automatically forget Clyde and leave him to the wayside. But I'm totally with you. He should absolutely be in RB1 territory. My guy for the 2021 season at the running back position, I should actually I feel bad because you have him ranked higher than I do. That's Austin Eckler, man.
Woo!
Through 10 games last year in 2020, averaged 16 and a half PPR points per game, finishing as the RB11 in PPR points per game. He did miss 6 games on the year with the hamstring injury, but he was still the team's leading rusher with 116 carries, 530 yards. Also added 65 targets for 54 receptions and 403 yards, 3 total touchdowns on the season. If you extrapolate his season out to 16 games, we're talking about an 848 rushing yards, 104 targets, 645 receiving yards. Now enter head coach Brandon Staley and new offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, who comes from the New Orleans Saints. And we've seen how they use Alvin Kamara over there and in that offense. And I think Eckler has even more potential in 2021 than he did in 2020. He's going off the board right now as the RB8. That's right where I have him. But like you have him, Greg, top five. I think he has top five potential if he can stay healthy. I think he's going to be lights out in this Chargers offense.
Yeah, we were talking about it off air. I think this guy is, 100 target guy, can be that Alvin Kamara guy, get you over 80 to 90 receptions. What Saquon was doing his rookie year, like he's gonna be killing with the Herb. A full season with him now, off season with him, working the timing, everything's just gonna be better. Yeah, Austin Eckler is gonna continue to dominate. And I think he's gonna get his rushing touchdowns number up, so that'd be pretty good.
I totally agree there. I think the rushing touchdowns should go up there for Austin Eckler. He's going to be the workhorse here in this backfield. And I know we have some time for some ADP game, Greg, but I want to dig into some of these later guys, right? These RB2s a little bit, just because, or even later potentially, just because we know the running back position. It's not really about these top 12, top 15 guys
Hmm.
as much as it is about these later round guys. So is there, potentially a sleeper here that, that we might have not talked about, a running back here that's, you're trying to leave drafts with?
I think if I had Damian Harris as my RB3, I'll be pretty happy. I'll be and put in my flex position. This is the guy last year. He did a good job of when they gave him the ball and carries, he was very efficient with them. It's just a matter of him getting the ball and the carries. It's dicey hitting getting a Patriots running back, but no more Rex Burkhead, so at least that's out of the way. Even though he was a carries guy, a receptions guy. But Sony Michel, he's very up and down, and I think Damian Harris is gonna win that backfield and be the guy for New England. He proved it last year with his efficiency and his toughness. So when he's on the field, I think at RB's rated as around that RB30 field. I think he finishes a top 30 running back. I would be excited if I had him as my RB3. Also, one other name, Miles Gaskin's backup, Salvin Ahmed. That's a deep sleeper. But when Miles Gaskin was hurt and Salvin Ahmed had the bulk of the backfield, he put up pretty much the same numbers as the gas man with this efficiency. And just to make sure that Miles Gaskin doesn't wear out throughout the year, I think they're going to lean on Ahmed to give him some carries, and I think that'd be a good guy to have to add to your running back depth.
No, definitely agree on both of those. I mean, Damian Harris is a guy that he showed well last year. I think in an offense, I've said this multiple times this season, this offseason, but I feel better about Damian Harris in a Mac Jones led offense than I do in a Cam Newton led offense, just because Cam Newton just gobbles up those rushing touchdowns. But I think Damian Harris is definitely in position to absolutely smash at his RB33 price. I mean, if you can get him as your running back four, even right, like, or maybe like you said RB3, but like me, I like to load
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so if you can get him, I think that he's definitely has that upside that you're looking for. And the second guy that you mentioned, who was the second guy you
Oh,
mentioned?
Salvin Ahmed off
Salvin
of Miami.
Ahmed. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He's a guy that for some reason he just goes like way late in in
yeah.
in drafts that I've done, and I'm like, he's a guy that's productive with his touches.
Yeah.
Like you said, when he had to fill in for Myles Gaskin, he definitely performed and came through. So I'm definitely looking towards him. For me, one guy I've been pretty adamant about uh, that he's going to be the lead guy in his backfield is Chase Edmonds. I mean, James Conner's coming over from Pittsburgh. Like we always say on this show, Greg, death, taxes, and James Conner getting injured in prime
Yes,
time
sir.
game. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
I don't like. There's no reason why Chase Edmonds won't be the lead back in terms of touches and opportunities in this backfield. He's done well with them before. And then there's people that talk about, oh, well, Chase Edmonds might not be a 20 touch guy. But when you look at it, I mean, the year that he got David Johnson had gotten injured, prior to acquiring Kenyon Drake, the Cardinals were giving him those touches. He had
Yeah.
a 30 touch game in there as well against the Giants, and so I think that Chase Edmonds can do that. He's put on some weight as well to improve, and his power and make him more durable throughout the season. And he's also a very good pass catcher, and he plays in a really good offense with Kyler Murray. So he's a guy that I've got him inside my top 30 running backs. He's going as the running back 24. So his price has crept up a little bit, but definitely was a guy that I felt like was getting slept on. And then another guy that I'm in on. I kind of, I will claim to be a truther from last year. I went against the grain. It was unpopular, but
Oh,
Ronald
my man
Jones.
Rojo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Rojo, I think he's going off the board right now as the RB35 behind Leonard Fournette, who's the RB29. I just think, again, I said it last year, I'll say it again. I just think Ronald Jones is the better player at this point in their careers, and I think that he really adds some juice to that run game. And they did add Giovanni Bernard to their backfield, so who I also think has some value, by the way, in PPR leagues. But I think that Giovanni Bernard and Ronald Jones are kind of going to take that Leonard Fournette role away, and maybe Leonard Fournette just becomes the immediate backup for both of these guys. But I'm again leaning in on Ronald Jones here. I want a piece of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, and he's the cheapest one thus far. So yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, definitely Rojo. I seem like those explosive plays he was making last year were amazing. He has some deep runs for touchdowns. So he definitely has the talent and yeah, Super Bowl champion swag. So yeah, he should be coming back ready to play.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Let's get into this ADP game, Greg. And so the first one we got queued up, DeAndre Swift as the RB15,
Mm-hmm.
going off the board as the fifth pick in the third round, or his second year counterpart, J.K. Dobbins, going off one
Ooh.
pick later, one running back slot later as the RB16 as the at 308. So
Always,
3 picks later.
always starting off so difficult. It's just
I
so
have to,
so
man.
you have to you have to because ooh, that is real tough. I mean, I think I'm gonna go with J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. just on the run heavy offense, run heavy style, that team, he's gonna get the slight edge. Both of them are gonna do really well this year. I think both of them are gonna finish in that top 10. I mean, not top 10, top 15 area. And J.K. Dobbins, but it's just the run style, the run heavy play offense. I think he gets an increase in his carries this year. Increase in his carries and his receptions. So I think he's gonna continue working. I have him going for 232 rushing attempts. So that's a lot, and I think he's gonna continue to get into the end zone. They're gonna use him in the red zone along with Lamar Jackson, of course, but J.K. Dobbins is gonna be a little more in that red zone area. PPR leagues though, so we are speaking from strictly PPRs. That's tough, man. DeAndre Swift, man. He's gonna be working. Oh man. I'm going DeAndre Swift. I'm sorry. I'm going DeAndre Swift because of the PPR value. I'm going DeAndre Swift.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Because
Yeah.
I look, man. I just want to let the people know it might be difficult to see DeAndre Swift's on the wall though, next to Jonathan Taylor, right under Nick Chubb. So I'm going with my man DeAndre Swift. And I look, this is crazy because if you told me last year I would be selecting DeAndre Swift over J.K. Dobbins in redraft leagues, I would think you're crazy because I'm a big time J.K. Dobbins fan. I followed him since he was at Ohio State. He was one of my favorite players. And when he got drafted to the Ravens, Greg, we co-managed the team last year. I was like, yo, J.K. Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins,
Yep,
J.K.
yep,
Dobbins.
yep, yep, yep.
But I had DeAndre Swift in a couple leagues last year, and I absolutely fell in love with the player. I didn't know how good he was in the pass game, and that's where I think the difference is for me. I think
Yeah,
I've got them both projected for the same amount of rush attempts, but the pass game is where the
yeah.
difference is because Anthony Lynn is the offensive coordinator over there. Well, who did he just have? Austin Eckler, who, like we just talked about, was on pace for over 100 targets. If DeAndre Swift can get to 100 targets, I mean, that would be absolutely
I
stupid.
got him for that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah,
exactly. So, and the thing is you could tell a lot of times in projections and just, doing our rankings and stuff, we have to be able to tell ourselves a story. And so you look around this Lions receiving room and this depth chart, and they're like, well, there's not much here. But you look
about to line up for the Lions real quick.
at
There's not much there. You're right.
so there's those targets have to go somewhere. Jared Goff has to throw the ball to somebody, and so outside of T.J. Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift is the next best thing going for him. So I think that the sky's the limit for DeAndre Swift. I've got him as my RB11, like I said. I'm really excited about what Swift could be in this just in the NFL.
Yeah, I realize he is my 10th running back in my projection. So Swift it was the easy answer. I was just trying to give the counter for the people that thought J.K. Dobbins for a little bit. I was just setting it up.
Well, I mean, look, and this is not to say I don't like J.K. Dobbins,
No,
right? And I
absolutely
don't think
not.
you're saying that either. I know you're saying that he could take a leap in the project in his pass catching work, and I think it's possible because J.K. Dobbins is totally that player. And like we talked about when talking about quarterbacks, if this pass volume goes up, these extra targets, those extra opportunities, they've got some of them have to end up with J.K. Dobbins, and he's too good of a player not to be involved that way. And so I do love Dobbins and the player. And we obviously, he averaged over 6 yards a carry last year.
Yeah,
It's
man.
just a ridiculous number. And you can't even project him to do that again. But hey, it's going to be, it's going to be a high number playing with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson there.
Yep.
So look, I'm all in on J.K. Dobbins as well. But the question was, which one would I rather have? And I've like you have Swift as your RB10. I've got him as my RB11. This is saying RB15 in the third round. I mean, if I can get DeAndre Swift in the third round, I'm as my
Oh man.
RB3.
Oh man. You're ooh ooh.
I
Yeah.
did that in the league, by the way. Light flex.
Oh, we
Saquon,
doing.
Aaron Jones, and
Ooh.
DeAndre Swift.
Ooh,
So
zero wide receiver this year. I see you. Okay, okay.
hey, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
All right, let's move on to this next ADP game that we got, this ADP battle here. Uh, I don't know. I guess I have a theme for running backs from the same draft class, but Miles Sanders going off the board as the RB18, the 12th pick in the third round, or Josh Jacobs going off the board as the RB20, 9th pick in the fourth round.
Hmm. That is also not as tough, but also a pretty good one. That impact really it comes down to the impact of Kenyon Drake for Josh Jacobs. For me, is he gonna take away a lot of carries from Josh Jacobs? I think Josh Jacobs will get his still get around that 15 carry mark. I mean, he was pretty high his first couple years, but I still think he doesn't go under 15 carries. But I'm gonna take Josh Jacobs at that value. I think around there could be your third running back, and I would have loved that for Josh Jacobs, especially because in the red zone, I think he's still gonna be that guy. I think the touchdown number is gonna be there, and the price is just higher for Miles Sanders, so I think I would go a little lower for probably similar production, honestly, at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this is if you ask me this time last year, you asked me this question.
You were ready to fight anyone going against Miles Sanders.
Oh
That's all
yeah,
I
no, I
know.
was
Yeah.
absolutely.
Ready
Yeah,
with no hands.
I didn't want to hear any Miles Sanders slander. I was not trying to hear it. Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb. I didn't want to
Oh
hear
yeah. Nah.
it. But and I gave all the heat to Josh Jacobs. He was my RB. He was my bust last year at the running back position. Like I said, it wasn't about how he was going to fin. It wasn't about where he would finish. It would be how he finished. I call him the Amari Cooper of running backs. But I'm going with Josh Jacobs here, man. I mean, Miles Sanders to me, I have some concerns, right? Like
Okay.
there's the fact they add Kenneth Gainwell, who's a similar back to Miles Sanders, could also do some work in the receiving game. So does he steal some targets from him there? Also, we know that rushing quarterbacks, there's a distinct drop in volume and target share to these running backs because they're not going to check it down to a running back that's 2 to 3 yards away from them when
Yep.
they could get that 2 to 3 yards plus some by themselves. So I have a concern there. Then Jalen Hurts also again stealing some of these rushing touchdowns, and Josh Jacobs. I mean, his only competition really is Kenyon Drake there, and people are so down on him that you're basically getting Jacobs at his floor.
Yeah.
Um, RB20 is his floor, I think, and I think he's at the point now where he's a value. And I don't know if I would have said that when the seasons when the basically when free agency ended. I don't know if I would have said that.
Yeah, I still think Josh Jacobs is the clearly the better player than Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake got a lot of carries last year, and we were wondering his efficiency wasn't as good as it should have been. I think Chase Young was probably the better runner too in that offense. So Josh Jacobs is gonna get his. He doubled his target number last year from his rookie season, 27 to 45. I wouldn't. Yeah, I think he can get that number again, around that 45, maybe a little more. Kenyon Drake will get his targets well, but the passing opportunities will be there. Yeah, I'm with you on those points about Miles Sanders, though. Yeah, I remember last year when Taysom Hill was running the offense, people were freaking out. Kamara was not getting as many carries, so it definitely there's an effect to a rushing quarterback to a dominant running back.
Yeah, definitely agree there, man. And let's move on to this other one. We talked a little bit about uh, Damian Harris, but he's like I said, going off the board is RB33, 10th pick in the eighth round. And this is another guy who was pretty popular on our show last year, Zach Moss, RB36, going off as the third pick in the ninth round. Which one of these guys do you want?
I think I'm gonna want Zach Moss, um, just because of that one's tough too, because when it comes down to red zone, you know who's getting those rushing touchdowns. Like the Zach Moss is gonna have to eat in targets and just rushing yards in general, just being efficient there. Um, but Damian Harris is not gonna really give you any PPR points, so that's where his trade off is. But so I'm still leaning towards Zach Moss. So I think just um, towards the end of the season, he was getting more touches than Devin Singletary. I think that's going to continue coming into this year. He's going to continue to improve. I always thought he was going to be the leader in the backfield last year. I think maybe it comes a little late, but it's going to come, and he's going to be that leader, and he's going to end up with more touches and probably a little more touchdowns, total touchdowns, is rushing and carrying.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this one is tough. I did not intend to make them easy, Greg. I promise you that. But Zach Moss, I think I still like his situation. I think he can be a good player. I just when compared to Damian Harris, like Damian Harris doesn't have a Devin Singletary, and I think that's the thing is like Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, they're like almost the same player, just
Mm-hmm.
different types of. I mean, statistically they could be the same player, but
Mm-hmm.
how they do it is going to be different. And Zach Moss has that touchdown upside, but he's also got Josh Allen, who's going to steal some of that.
Yep.
So it's really tough there. Where with Damian Harris, I like the path is much clearer for me to see how he really how he can get into an RB2 situation. But I definitely agree. Zach Moss, he took a step forward in terms of being the guy. And a lot of times, and I say this often, but we remember when a guy doesn't play, but we don't remember when a guy wasn't healthy and did play. And Zach Moss was that a little bit. Actually, I think he didn't actually play with the high ankle sprain, but
Yep.
he came back early, and there's no way that he could have been the same player. He lacked some explosiveness, and that's probably why we saw a much better Zach Moss at the end of the season. So I'm not nothing against Zach Moss. I think he's actually been pretty valuable in drafts this year, and I've scooped him up in a few leagues. So let's get to this last one here, Greg,
Hmm.
and that is AJ Dillon, the RB 39,
Okay.
going off as the third pick in the 10th round, or Gus Edwards, the RB 42, going off as the first pick in the 11th round.
I'm buying a lot of AJ Dillon. I'm with the AJ Dillon. If you're basically sliding him into Jamal Williams' spot, and Jamal Williams is always getting the ball. He was always getting at least 100 carries a year. So I'm with that. I'm with him getting red zone carries and getting rushing touchdowns. And that's a big boy. AJ Dillon is a big boy. He's bigger than Jamal Williams, so he's gonna be a physical back. And I'm with that more than I think he's going to end up getting more touches than Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is still going to get his 5 to 10 10 carries a game and be efficient with that. But yeah, I think AJ Dillon sliding into that Jamal Williams spot has a more prominent role for sure in that Packers offense.
Yeah, bro, I'm totally with you again here. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I think Gus Edwards is going to have his role. It's going to be secure. He's going to get volume in that, some volume, some work in that offense because of the amount of rush attempts we have. But again, we've been talking the story that, hey, if this pass volume goes up, like those plays have to come from somewhere too. So does that mean less rush attempts here for Gus Edwards? Right? Something we have to factor in. But like you said, AJ Dillon is just sliding
Yep.
in to the
Yep.
Jamal Williams role. Like it's a pretty seamless transition.
Yep.
And I think it helps both players in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon because Aaron Jones doesn't have a player there to steal the pass game work because I don't think AJ Dillon is going to be used in that way. But AJ Dillon is also going to get 8 to 10 carries a game and really do well with those carries. Plus, he's got the built-in upside. We've seen Aaron Jones get nicked up throughout his career where you can get the Packers starting running back and AJ Dillon, for 1 week, 2 weeks, and we know those weeks, Greg. Like
Yo,
those
yeah. Oh
just
yeah.
to win a week
Yep.
in a league,
That's the
right?
difference.
It makes a difference between making the playoffs or just missing it. So um, AJ Dillon's a guy that has a ton of upside here. I mean, you could argue that Gus Edwards has similar upside, but J.K. Dobbins is young. He's in his prime. The injury rate at the running back position is high, but Aaron Jones has missed quite a few games, been nicked up at times, and we know how the Packers are with their players. We saw last year, Packers players were frustrated in Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones that they were healthy or they felt like they were healthy, but the Packers, the team doctors would hold them back an extra week just to make sure they were actually good, so they were ready so they didn't have to regress during the season. So if something like that happens again, AJ Dillon brings a ton of value. He was actually gonna be my sleeper here,
Yeah.
uh, but I went with Michael Carter instead. But AJ Dillon is definitely a guy for me.
Yeah, if you're gonna give AJ Dillon, Jamal Williams opportunity, sign me up. Just I could see him just wearing down teams in third, fourth quarter, like when the Packers are winning, just wearing them down. Honestly, yeah, like Kareem Hunt status when the Browns are like just giving him the ball on some drives.
Yeah, I just hope that it doesn't become a situation like remember the Titans game last year where for no rhyme, no reason, it was just AJ Dillon
It
like
was. You're right.
21 carries and Aaron Jones just he was like the Jamal Williams and it just didn't compute and I was really upset cuz I lost the fantasy finals to my brother in our dynasty league cuz Aaron Jones touched the ball like 7 times
Mm.
and I'm not gonna lie, I was really upset about it. But
You did win a fantasy championship off Aaron Jones,
Yeah, but that
so
was like 2 years ago, man. I
I
mean,
know it's like it comes all back. It is
oh, it comes full circle, right?
yeah, full circle. If
Yeah,
you won with him a
yeah.
championship, I mean, you're gonna lose with
I'm
the
gonna lose one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
that makes sense. Math checks out there. But hey, everybody, thank you for rocking with us. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever Anchor, wherever the podcast is posted, please subscribe, rate, review the show. We genuinely appreciate that. Leave a comment. We would love to answer questions. Also, make sure you're following Greg on Instagram at we_made it. You'll see that right there underneath his picture. But also make sure you follow him on Twitter at gmoney_truth. We finally got Greg on Twitter, so that's exciting. And then you can follow me at JR Football Nerd. Obviously, that's underneath me as well. But also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you hit the notification bell. And again, if you have any comments about the running backs, about our rankings, if you have any disagreements, leave them in the comment section. Again, we would love to hear them. We'd love to read and react to them. So again, we appreciate all the support, everybody, and as always, have a good one. And we're out of here.
We
Peace.
out.